So, welcome back to the show. Today, I'm honored to be joined by a true industry leader in the world of holistic performance and a lifestyle design here. My guest here today is Ryan Hodgson, executive health coach and a co-founder of an award-winning company called Team Double Age. So for over a decade now, Ryan has been helping thousands of busy professionals and parents as well to outsource their health and performance. So he doesn't just believe in luck. Instead, his proven methodology is built around his signature six-pillar system encompassing stress, sleep, mindset, habits, nutrition, and activity. So he's a multi-award winning coach, a best-selling author, and a man whose personal journey, I think, from dropping out of the college to joining the army at 18, he has shaped a coaching philosophy that he's redefining around, right now. So, in effect, he's, besides that, a certified nutritional coach who openly admits he's not a typical health coach. So, please get ready for an in-depth conversation on how to find true health and happiness without sacrificing your life or your career. So please welcome with me Ryan Hodgson here today. So Ryan, it's a great pleasure to have you on my podcast here today, man.
Wow, what an intro. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Really good good word. You hit the nail on the head there.
Thank you, thank you. It's an honor to me. So I would like to start here from your six pillars. So you involves stress, sleep, mindset, habits, nutrition, and activity. So if you have to rank them in order of importance for for example, an executive person, so which three of those pillars currently will hold the most weight and why, by your opinion?
Which three would be mindset, stress, and sleep?
Okay, why?
100%. I feel like we put so much pressure on the modern man, the modern female to be successful in specific areas in their life, like their career, and we
For sure.
often neglect stress and sleep. We're living a high cortisol life and we're acting like that's normal. People are living on
Yeah,
limited sleep, acting like that's normal, working long hours, getting up early, not prioritizing that. And I always say, like, I talk to people about, if you were to put all the different elements of your life out on a table, stress and sleep are the two legs that hold you up. Mindset's the thing that
yeah,
drives everything, so we need to have that in place. 10 years ago, I had a mental health breakdown because I'd always prioritized the physical attributes of fitness, like the training, probably nutrition a little bit, but it was all just training, 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 drive my business. And it led me to depression and anxiety. And that's when I realized actually we need to be looking at a holistic approach. And that's when me and Ellie founded the pillar formula.
yeah. I agree with that. So, but your team, Double H, also uses a track, assess, and adaptation formula,
Yes.
including health testing like blood hormonal testing. So,
Yeah.
how vital is this objective data like hormonal testing to the success of your clients? And what's one major physiological insight that you gain from these testings that maybe general fitness advices are missing out to uncover us?
Yeah, the main reason is that I've actually got low testosterone myself, so I had to go. I ended up having a bit of
Okay.
a massive dip, and it really impacted me. Aching joints, I was bloated, I couldn't lose weight, which I thought I should have been able to lose weight at the time, and something wasn't right. So I got my bloods done, and my testosterone level was like the same as a 70-year-old man. And then when I looked at it, all these men that are hitting their sort of late 30s, 40s, 50s, they go to the doctors with symptoms of low testosterone and they get put on beta blockers.
Yeah.
They get told they've got depression. They get told that they've got anxiety. They just need something to calm them down, relax them, and they'll be fine. Then they spend 20, 30 years on beta blockers and think that that's normal. And I was like, there's nobody's checking, okay, how are your testosterone levels? Because if they've plummeted, they're going to be very similar symptoms to people who are struggling with their mental health. And it's not saying every man in their 30s and 40s is suffering with low testosterone when they're getting diagnosed that, but we need to be checking it. So we introduced that check, and we do the same for women. We check their female hormones because same sort of principle, but I think with women we're more aware of hormones, but with men it's very much like a let's just ignore it. And men don't like talking about the symptoms of low testosterone because it's not masculine.
Yeah, yeah. And I love it because the testosterone level is directly correlated with stress level. And many
Yes.
professionals treat stress with unwinding activities, but you treat it as a dedicated pillar in your own method. What is the most effective and maybe a counterintuitive method that you teach your high achieving clients to actively manage their physiological stress response
I
to
think the
a daily
biggest thing
day
is
life?
I think the biggest thing is self-awareness, and it's helping them to understand, because I don't think successful people like to admit that they're stressed. And it's like I
Yeah,
talk so much about how you can be internally stressed and just handle it well, because often people who are disciplined, they're physically quite fit in the past, they can sustain a lot more stress, but that doesn't mean it's not damaging
yeah,
the inside of our body. That doesn't mean it's not damaging
yeah,
our mental health longer term. So it's recognizing, actually, okay, when does that pressure that we're under turn to stress? Because I'm a huge believer that stress is our body and mind's inability to handle the pressures that are put upon us. So sometimes it's looking at the language you're using. It's becoming able, are we able to step back and reassess situations, because perspective's everything. And we live a life where
yeah.
we go through our own perspective and we take everything that we're seeing and experiencing as reality. Whereas if we were able to take a step back and look at things from a different perspective, how much better could we feel? How much more different how could we lower those stress levels just from a different perspective? That's the main thing that I would say that makes the biggest difference with clients, because when you're driven, particularly with your career, you're very much focused on next thing, push, 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 push. And it's like, have you took a
Yeah.
step back to breathe? Have you took a step back to recognize what you've achieved? Have you looked at, okay, that stress that you're causing right now and it's having a negative impact? Your digestion's all over the place. You're bloated. You're not sleeping. You're waking up at 2 a.m. in the morning. These are all symptoms of stress
Yeah.
that you're acting like it's normal. That's not normal. And when you start to ask them about this, they start to think, pennies dropping. Okay, I didn't realize that, because no one talks about it. When you go in the career world, it's like you're working for that next career progression. No one talks about the level of stress. It's almost like a hidden concept that really we should be more comfortable talking about it, because actually talking about it can lower stress as well.
Yeah, exactly. And I love the way you put it, but for the clients who are actually trying to maximize their productivity, I think that sleep often feels like the first area to sacrifice. But how do you
100%.
frame sleep from being a luxury to maybe a mandatory performance enhancer in that
Yeah.
executive, like a high level achievement world?
So I always very honest with people. We're not robots. We can't perform 365 days
Yeah,
a year, 24/7. And
exactly.
actually, what I always say to clients is, give me 30 days. Commit to creating a dedicated sleep pattern. Commit to getting
Yeah,
good quality sleep, adequate nutrition and hydration, because they'll both impact sleep as well. And tell me that your productivity's dropped. Then I'll be quiet. And I've never had somebody come back to me after 30 days and say, hold on, my productivity's dropped. And we can track it. That's why we track, assess and adapt. And it's like looking at, well, what's your energy levels like in the morning? What's your hunger levels like? How are you handling work? How is your mind? Because actually a lot of the people I work with, they think that they don't need the energy, because they're doing mind work rather than physical work. And like, actually, the mind still needs energy. In fact, it's more important, because when you're not getting enough sleep, that's going to impact your ability
exactly.
to make decisive key decisions that are often worth a lot of money. Very, very important decisions that, if you're working on 70%, 80% sleep rather than getting towards that 100%, it is going to impact your decisions for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
And sorry, and
But
another
for
thing what I
all,
touch on that is,
yeah,
also when you look at it, is we can often prioritize the work, and then I say, well, how's your family? How are you experiencing things with your family if you're not sleeping enough? What's your energy like on the weekend? Oh,
yeah,
I've got no energy to run around with my kids.
yeah,
Well, don't you? Why are you working so hard? Because I want to build a good life for my family. Well, but you can't even enjoy your weekend with your kids, who have looked forward to seeing you all weekend, because you're knackered, because you've not slept well enough during the week. And then it helps them to sort of recognize, okay, and it is, sometimes I get, it can feel a bit like I'm taking a step back and I'm doing less work, but we're actually getting more quality work. And I'm pretty confident that everybody who is successful will tell you that actually it's not about intensity, it's about consistency, and it's about quality. And when we start to recognize that and you say it out loud, often we get like an aha moment, pennies dropped. I definitely do need to be working on that sleep.
Yeah, exactly. And I love you where you put it in a perspective of macro managing. So day to day basis, like being in that routines and everything. But for busy individuals, physical activity often gets cut first. So what is
Yeah.
from your perspective, maybe a minimal effective dose of those structured exercise that you prescribe? And how do you ensure that compliance when you have that minimal time gap when you're like
So
a high performer?
yeah, so everybody is an individual, and I think that I always say, like, I've never worked or met somebody who isn't busy. Busy is just a word we use to fill our time. We're just everyone's busy. I've never met someone walking around twiddling their thumbs. So I think that if the longer we continue to tell ourselves we're too busy for something, is the longer we'll continue being too busy. However, to meet people at their level, when I start working with somebody, we use the track, assess, and adapt. And I always ask them at the very start, let's track what your current activity levels are like. And often 2,000 steps a day. They've not been in the gym for years. They're not doing much on the weekend. That's what they're currently like. So it's like, okay, well, let's set a 20% increase in activity for the next week or two. And they'll look at me like I've got 10 heads and say, that's too easy. And I say, it needs to be easy because I want you to create a habit. I don't want you to be 5 times a week in the gym for a month and then you've not bothered again after that. I actually want to start creating habits,
Yeah.
because what I want to do, and I always say it to them, I say, I want you to remember me telling you this now. If I get you being 20% more active over the next 2, 3 weeks, you will feel more energy. You'll start to notice different significant changes in your personal and career life, and you'll
Yeah.
want to be more active. And it works nearly every time. And it's all about progressive. Some clients, when they start, they want to go hell for leather. I rein them in and I'm like, I don't want you hell for leather. Oh, but you're my coach. You should be telling me to do more. I'm like, no, I want quality and
Mm.
consistency over intensity every time. And that's where we start with.
Yeah, okay. But on the other side, you also a certified nutritional coach who openly
Yes.
speaks about it. Like from time to time, you can also use unhealthy foods and alcohol.
Yeah.
But how do you teach your clients to find that balance and sustainability without, resorting to any restrictive dieting? So what is your
Yes.
rule for allowing indulgence without derailing for your main goal here or progress?
So, yes, everyone I work with, we do a one-to-one nutrition masterclass and find out what level they're at first. And there is no judgment. Like you've said, my favorite foods are
Hmm.
typically what most would call junk foods. So I'm never going to judge a client for having poor nutritional habits. But what we then start to do is recognize, how do they feel around those foods? Like how does having, let's be honest, most of us know if we have foods that most call junk, I just call them calorie dense foods. Most people
Yeah.
know that they feel more bloated, their digestive system's not great, and they don't have the same energy levels. How do you feel when you start to nourish your body with nutrient dense foods that most people call healthy? They often know, do you know what? My digestion improves. I'm less bloated. I have a little bit more energy in myself. So we then start to correlate. Actually, I know when I choose these foods, I feel better. And it's done in a gradual, strategic way. Because again, it's that track, assess, and adapt. It's never change, it's adapt. So it might be my biggest thing that I work with clients is the first meal is breakfast. If we can get a good breakfast, it is 80% of people's problems solved, because you improve your breakfast, you won't want to undo it on lunchtime and dinner time. And often dinner they're eating with their family if they can, so they have less of an input in what they're eating. But you improve that breakfast, it just sets the tone for the day. But I'm a flexible dieting coach, so I get clients to understand the basic calorie and macronutrients that are suited to their goals, and we work towards them over time. But typically, it's one or two little changes or adaptations at a time until they become a habit. There's no point in going on a chicken, rice, and broccoli diet for 6 weeks and then finding that you're then promoting an
Yeah.
unhealthy relationship because you're avoiding things. The last rule that I have with clients is, like, we use like an 80-20 rule. So 80% nutrient dense, high quality foods, 20% more relaxed. That's your alcohol, your takeaways, pizzas, whatever it is that tends to be what most people call unhealthy. But I say they're healthy for the mind. If we start trying to cut them out, if you like them and you try and cut them out, it's only going to promote an unhealthy relationship with food. I want to try and promote that solidarity that actually says, I can have these if I want, And then eventually, being totally honest and transparent, most clients reduce them down significantly less than 20% because they no longer want them. They no longer serve them because they know it doesn't make them feel better.
Yes, yes. And I also saw on your page that you specialize in helping busy people to outsource their health, meaning that you just said so. But what does also outsourcing generally entail in meaning to you? So how do you prevent this high touch service from creating maybe a dependency from a client to maybe own their self-sufficiency over time?
We create everything around where their lifestyle is right now. So I would say most of the programs in the market, people join for 6, 12, 20 weeks and they'll commit to this program. We do like a complete lifestyle and health analysis at the start that looks at what does their current lifestyle look like. And then over the course of our sort of flagship program is 12 months because we're creating habits, we're transforming somebody's life. That doesn't happen in 12 weeks. I don't care what anyone says, it
Yeah.
doesn't. So we do it over the course of 12 months and we start to integrate and create habits. But at the same time, we're giving them knowledge so that they can then start to make educated decisions based on their health and fitness so that by the end of the program, they don't need a coach. Some of them will stay on because they like having that coaching call. They like having a little bit more of like more progression with things. But reality is, my goal with everyone I work with and my wife's is to make sure that we are the last coach that they need, and it is done on their level. So I encourage clients to ask me questions, ask why you've changed that exercise, ask me why you're asking me to tweak that with your nutrition, so that then they no longer leave me at the end of it. My goal is to pass knowledge.
Awesome. So, but you also have a busy parent challenge. And what is the single most common mindset or logical roadblock that successful parents bring into their health journey? And what is the first tool you give them to integrate into their fitness or family life rather than just keeping it separate one from another?
I think the big thing that busy parents that aren't naturally into fitness will use is they've
Mhm.
got work, they're working a lot of long hours, then they've got their family that take
Yeah.
up a lot of hours, and there's no time for them. And I totally agree with that a lot of the time. So what we do is integrate, well, how can we make sure we're being active at work? How can we make sure we're being active as a family? So at work, a lot of the time I talk to clients about doing like a walk and talk meeting. So it sounds super obvious, but it's like actually now we've got AI. You could literally have a voice recorder recording you and your colleague walking, having a meeting, so you're being active. It actually promotes a healthy relationship at work because you're not just sat across a boardroom having a conversation.
Yeah.
Some of these conversations can really make a big difference. Some of my clients now in senior positions at work have implemented that anything below a certain tier of meeting at work is actively encouraged to be a walk and talk meeting. So it then creates a culture at work that encourages people to be active. We're not just sat down for 9, 10 hours a day. The human body isn't designed to sit down for 10 hours a day. That's why people have bad lower backs, tight hip flexors, tight calves, and they wonder why they're getting serious issues with mobility when they get older. We're not supposed to sit down for 10 hours a day.
Exactly.
Let's encourage being mobile. Then the other one is being active with the family, like it's encouraging things. So we'll ask them, the kids, what do they want to do? Let's go out and run around with them. It doesn't have to be about a gym. Yes, I would love everybody to get into the gym and have that passion for it. But reality is, a lot of people don't have that passion and love for the gym. The gym comes in further down the line when I start to get clients feeling better and they recognize, hold on a minute, maybe he knows what he's talking about. Because then I know, well, if I can get you lifting weights, it's going to help boost natural testosterone levels. It's going to help with your posture. It's going to reduce your risk of injury. It's going to help you be the fit, strong dad that can pick your kids up and throw them about in the pool. Those types of things that will make a difference. But on day one, somebody who's not been in a gym for 15 years and then they get some coach online telling them you need to be in the gym 4 or 5 days a week, it's just a
Yeah.
disconnect. It doesn't work. It won't work longer term anyway.
Awesome. And also based on your work, what is one, maybe a keystone habit that when successfully implemented by your client tends to cascade also positive effects across all 6 pillars of their health? For example, maybe we tend to manage like a sleep quality leading to a better nutrition or even a workout output.
Yeah.
So
Sleep is
what is here?
sleep is the backbone, 100%, because when we sleep
Mhm.
well, we don't wake up tired, we don't wake up groggy, so then we know, right, I'm going to make a good decision in the morning, I'm going to hydrate myself well. So we've already started the day well before we even moved. And then it's like, right, okay, what do we do? Do we have some good movement, or are we going to nourish our body now, whichever one it is? But it just starts, everything starts from good quality sleep. People like
Yeah.
wear this like badge of honor of, oh, I only sleep 4 hours a day. And I'm like, that's not something to be proud of. It's actually something that we really need to work on. Like, if you're only sleeping 4 hours a day, you are not performing at your best. I don't care what anybody says. You could perform better if you had more sleep. That's, so I 100% think that sleep. But like, I've got Hashimoto's, so an autoimmune disease, and I also have ADHD. So sleep is a big thing that I battle with. But I notice it because I've become so self-aware that actually when I have a poor day at sleep, there's no way I'm as productive. There's no way my training's as good, and I'm more snappy at home. So I'm like, I don't want to be that person. I don't want to be the person that has the energy and is sleeping well. I'm making better decisions with my food, and it all rolls in. Sleep is the backbone, 100%. We can also
Yeah.
handle stress
Yeah.
better when we sleep well as well.
Definitely, definitely. But you are focused on a long-term success.
Yes.
And after, for example, your client succeed this 12-month program, what are the two or maybe three most reliable indicators that they will maintain after results, maybe for the next 5 years without constant coaching input from your side? What do you think?
I think they're crystal clear on their priorities and what's important to them and understanding them. I think a lot of the time we get warped, and I think that society conditions us to do this, where we have to think that
Yeah.
work is the most important thing and work pays the bills. I totally understand that it's important, but actually, if you strip things really, really back, what's important, most of the time it is their pet, it is their children, it is their partner. And when you recognize that, it's like, okay, then, well, how can we make sure that they're getting the best version of you? And those people that are emotionally connected to their level of priority with things are the ones that will tend to get the best results. Because I every 90 days, I try and do this with clients where we take a step back and look at, we call them the four B's. So we look at the four B's in different areas of our life. So we've got our body, which is our physical health and fitness. We've got our brain, which is our emotional well-being and how we're feeling mental health wise. Then we have our besties, which is our relationships. And then we have our business, which is careers and finance. So when we step back and look at all those four pillars, we can then be aware of, okay, is one of them lacking? If it is, why? Is it a priority right now? Like, I know now, coming into December, for the next month, a lot of my clients' priority will be their besties. So if their health and fitness is a little bit slower, that's okay. It was a conscious decision because they've got Christmas coming up, they've got socials coming up, they want to enjoy themselves. And actually, I don't want anyone on my program who is going out and thinking they can't enjoy themselves because they're working on my program. It should actually be, no, I can enjoy myself because I'm working on this program, and they've given me a bit of knowledge and tools to help me navigate around them without slipping backwards.
Yeah. Yeah. But you also own a credit to your experience joining the army with 18. So you also where you learn many life skills there as well. But how does discipline, structure, and leadership principles that you learn in the military, uh, you kind of translate into a coaching your high performance civilians here and people? So how does it work out for you here as
Yeah, I
well?
think that, like, I joined the army when I was 18 to grow up. I was not the best
Hmm.
behaved 18-year-old, get myself in and out of trouble, mixing with the wrong crowd. It was like, I need to go in and sort myself out. I joined the army and everyone thought I wouldn't last 2 minutes. And it helped me grow up. It helped me evolve. And you have to learn, actually, you have to take personal accountability is the first thing. And I know, like, in the world now, it seems to be like we're not allowed to call people out. But there's a lot to be said for being personally accountable for where we're at right now. And I think that when you become an adult,
Yeah.
yes, life throws things at us, and it definitely does. But actually, when we learn to hold our hand up and say, actually, it's on me. If I want to be successful, it's on me. It's not on my wife. It's not on my clients. It's not on anybody else apart from me to create that success. And it's the same with all the
Definitely.
clients I work with. So you have to be accountable. You have to hold yourself accountable first. Then with the discipline side of it, I think that we have to, we, at times it's going to be tough. Like, if you want nice things, you want good things, you have to be able to go through tough times. You have to be disciplined and consistent to make sure. But once you've done it for 3, 6, 12 months, it feels easy. It feels mindless, and you actually know. Do you know what? Like I know for me, my nutrition is probably good on if you put it all together, like I would say 40 odd weekends of the year. But on those 12 weekends scattered around where I do want to go out and eat and drink what I want, I do it guilt free because I've been disciplined for like 70-80% of the year. Why should I feel any otherwise? And that's a lot of the reason people worry and feel guilt is because they know they're lacking discipline. So we need to work on, right,
Yeah.
how do we instill that discipline? The big thing is self-belief. Okay, you don't. I ask a lot of clients, they've got 3 stone to lose. Do you believe you can lose 3 stone? Most of them don't. They like the idea of doing it, but they don't believe they can do it. Okay, well, let's break that down. Do you believe you can lose £3? Yeah, of course I can. Okay, just lose that £3. Forget about the rest. Lose the £3. Okay, do you believe you can lose another £3? And then before we know it, we've created this system of self-belief. We've then instilled discipline because we're doing all these things to continue making progress, that actually now it starts to feel seamless. They're getting the results, so they don't mind feeling a bit disciplined, and actually it starts to feel a bit rewarding because it's like whilst you're out there, and I think it's something like 70% of adults in the Western world are overweight. They're struggling,
Yeah.
and you can be
Yeah.
part of that minority. And it's like, actually, I'm part of the people that are fit and healthy. I want to be that person.
Yeah, I love the mindset. I love the mindset. And it's also what I also try to incorporate in my own daily routine right now. But you're also very open about your journey with mental health, and that almost led you to leave the industry.
Yes.
And you manage the ADHD. And from my perspective, how have these personal challenges unequivocally shaped your approach to coaching and bring the empathy for your clients that also struggling with focus and motivation?
Yeah, I think the big thing was when I had the mental health breakdown and I wanted to leave the fitness industry, I was numb. I couldn't do anything. I didn't want to do anything. And it was like I put on this act because I'd built a business that was around my persona that I'd built. And I could put on this act, but it was exhausting. And I'd go home, and then my wife and, well, she was my fiance at the time, and daughter got this burnt out, snappy, miserable version of me that didn't want to get out of bed. And it took something for me to realize that's not what I want to be. That's not who I want to be. All I've ever wanted, even from like a young child, I was a bit of a weird for a boy, but all I'd ever wanted was a family. I just wanted to have a loving family that I could grow and evolve. And I was looking at it like, I'm going to lose these if I don't sort myself out. And I think that that's what led me to start working on the mindset side of it, because I'd left the army, and it's sort of this thing. The army taught me a lot, but in the army, you didn't talk about mental health. You didn't talk about struggles. You just man up, get on with it, And that was the sort of mindset I used to have. I was like, at the time, I was a bodybuilder as well, and it was not, I'm covered in tattoos and a bodybuilder 10 years ago talking about mental health. Like no one, not many men were talking about mental health 10 years ago. And I went to counselling, and it actually was a charity that I was raising money for my white collars. And I'd gone through about, I think it's about 6 months of counselling. And I said to her when we were doing this for our next event, I want to share my story. And she was like, you sure? No one knew I'd been suffering. I remember like I was bawling my eyes out sharing this story to everybody, and the amount of men that night that came up to me and was like, you've given me the courage and the strength to be like, I'm going to there's something not right with me, and I'm going to sort myself out now. And thank you for doing it. And I just realized actually we're not alone. Like, but I do think mental health is more important than physical health because it often spirals into it.
Yeah,
Did
but
that answer
it
the question?
actually
Sorry,
leads
I
you.
waffled on.
Yeah, yeah, no, no, actually it did, but because that leads you towards they build up the character for you. You accepted that it's on you. That leads you actually
Yes,
to involving a multi-award winning team that we actually have nowadays, the Double Age.
yes.
But what was the biggest mistake you made early in your coaching career, maybe? And what specifically forced this pivoting in your life to that holistical that we actually now having a six
Yeah.
pillar
I, f-
model?
I think like I'm a
What
huge
was the turning point?
yeah, I'm a huge believer that everything happens for a reason. So I don't like thinking of them as mistakes. But my first proper business, so I was a PT, then I built a business that was a boot camp business, and it was purely focused on the physical training. People came and did the boot camp, went, and we scaled that from one location to two locations, right up to five locations within a year. I think my biggest mistake in business was going so fast. Slow down. If I'd have kept that at three locations, I probably may never be doing what I'm doing now, though. So that's why I always think everything happens for a reason. But actually, I probably wouldn't have had the mental health breakdown. We'd have had half the amount of staff to look after, half the amount of pressures, half the amount of hassle, half the amount of overheads. And I was probably earning near enough the same anyway. It just, we built quicker because we needed the location to serve people. I think that's probably my biggest mistake from coaching. Yeah.
Interesting perspective, but also on another side of you is that you're a best-selling author. You
Yes.
published 4 books, if I'm right, right? What
Yes.
is, from that perspective, the biggest, more persistent health and fitness myth that you hope to dismantle with your books? And why do you think that this myth is difficult to kill, deciding that we have, like you said, social media and mainstream media?
I think probably the biggest myth that I want to try and change with people is health and fitness isn't just about the physical, it's about the whole being. And we look now like on social media and there's no two ways about it. You've only got to look at a video of somebody who's stood there talking about physical and emotional well-being versus somebody who's shredded through their eyeballs, whether they're male or female, oiled up in the gym. Which one's going to get more reactions, which one gets more attention? And that makes me sad because I believe that we should be looking more at the person who's trying to help educate people, because there's a real lack of education. And the big problem what we're finding now is it then spirals down to younger generations. Like these kids are growing up thinking either A, we're going to be overweight like 60% of the adults, or B, we're going to be borderline eating disorder because we need to be absolutely shredded and you know unhealthily lean all year round, because that's not real life. I have this conversation with my daughters all the time. You look online and someone posts a picture of themselves really, really lean. I'm like, they're not like that all year round though. They're just
Yeah,
getting
that
a photo shoot
comparison.
with 50. Yeah, comparison's the thief of joy, and it's dangerous. So I think the big thing for me would be probably that we need to be more focused on the mindset around health and fitness, because everything else falls into that.
Yeah, yeah. And I also love it because you're practically oriented in that area like I did. So education people, make the
Yeah.
awareness, just make the community. But you manage 3 distinct businesses, a health club, online coaching, and a boot camp. So what is the greatest challenge in scaling that? Uh, either like personal or business relationship that drives that service for the high level executive coaching without
Yeah.
even even maybe like deleting the quality of your life and even
So
even business life. So what is
yeah, I think
yeah
the big thing for me, we actually closed the health club back in June. But when we had all three businesses, the big thing that I found was having the right systems and tools in place. And I actually say this to a lot of clients when they join like our program. It's not a program, it's a system, because it has to fit
yeah
around your life and it's a personalized system. It's the same for me. So I've become very protective over my time. So it's making sure that I know what I'm doing when I should be. And a big thing with me with the ADHD is I need to have strict rules of myself to manage it, because I can go into hyper focus on one task that is probably not important and lose 2 3 days of work. So it's really important. So I have everything as structured and diarized and protective over my time, that the only person who can control my diary is me. Even though I've got a virtual assistant, they have no part on my diary because it's me. I can't
yeah
allow that.
yeah
I
of
think that
course.
that's the big thing, is recognizing like important tasks, prioritizing them, and only allocating the right amount of time to them.
Yeah, but you're also very like a responsible person, not just for yourself, but also for your community, for your family. And
Yes.
if you could magically implement one systematic change in the traditional health and fitness industry that we know nowadays, or on a single night, be that in an area of public health, education, or just a common training practices. So what would it be? And what is the
Yeah.
biggest obstacle maybe to this adoption of this law
Yeah. The big
from your
thing that I
perspective?
would, yeah, the big thing that I would be doing would be that governments would be getting GPs to work closely with physical personal trainers, online coaches, that before they start
Yeah.
just prescribing the medication blindly. And it's not to knock all GPs, because they're not all like that. However, we've created this culture that is, here's drugs, here's drugs, here's drugs, and that's masking a problem. And often what we then need is they need more drugs because those drugs are stopped working, and it doesn't solve the problem. So I think they'd be encouraging more of a collaborative approach between GP. Will refer, okay, this guy's struggling right now, let's refer him out to a coach that can help change his life so that he's not dependent on
Yeah.
that prescription for the next 3, 6, 12 months, years even. Let's really try and do that before. And it's not saying that medication isn't the answer for everything, but I think that it should be used as a last resort. Whereas at the moment, we've created a culture that it's a first resort.
Yes, of course, and I hopefully that in the future we're just gonna find a way to work and cooperate all together on this issue. But when it comes also to the future of coaching, looking maybe 5 years ahead from now, I ask this question to all of my guests, so I want to ask you. So, how do you see the role of your coaching evolving, particularly with the rise of artificial intelligence, like you said, a personal wearable gadgets and technology that maybe can change the consumer life here?
Yeah, I think that AI is a positive thing first and foremost. I think a lot of people who are frightened of it aren't looking at the bigger picture and recognizing how we can use that to help more people. And I think that over time there'll be more and more AI systems to help people serve more people. It doesn't
Yeah.
devalue what we're doing. If anything, I think that over the next 3 to 5 years, actually personal coaching will increase in value, because an AI is never going to have that human touch, and that's what people need. We are human beings. We rely on connectivity, and yes, some people are going to be
Yeah.
able to get what they need from the AI, but there's also going to be a big market that will be willing to invest in having that personal touch. So I will be somebody who will adapt and evolve and use AI to support and help my business grow. However, I will never lose the personal touch in the way that I want to do personal calls. I want to do personal check-ins. I want to get to know my clients on a deeper level so that they have that touch with me and my wife, because that's what we do and that's what we've built.
Okay. But how would you also describe a peak health and happiness for a professional or just a normal person who has to juggle career, family, and personal well-being? Is it like a destination or a continuous process, like you said?
I think it's
So
a
how would you
lifestyle.
dissect
Yeah, I think it's a
a lifestyle
lifestyle, and
change?
it's recognizing, somebody who's in good health is, they hold a little bit of body fat. Body fat is healthy. We need to normalize that. We don't need to be super, super lean. Most blokes in
Yeah,
their 40s don't have six packs. We don't need to have them. Being pretty lean,
yeah,
but they've got a little bit of body fat. They're sleeping well. They're waking up with an erection. They've got their sexual health is there. They're finding that they're nourishing their body well. They're eating plenty of carbs, proteins, fats. They're not avoiding any food groups. They're able to drink every now and then, and they're being active 3 to 5 times a week. That to me is what it's all about. If you're getting plenty of sleep as well, of course, that's what it's about. We don't need to be 7 times a week in the gym, and that's not normal life for the modern man.
yeah. And love the way you put it. So practically, it's a good recipe for a holistic lifestyle, and I will actually leave it at that as your final statement, because sadly we're at the end of the podcast. I know that you're all very busy, so I'm just gonna give you a time space to share where the audience can find you and your work here.
Yes, I'm Ryan Hodgson Fitness on all social media platforms. You can follow me, drop me a message on any of those, and I always try to answer them as much as I can. I do regular Q&As on IG, on my stories. My goal is to just try and help people as much as I can, whether that's being sharing free content or joining me as a client. I just want to help.
Yeah, definitely. And I really recognize it immediately as soon as I saw your page. So Ryan, it's a great honor to have you on my podcast here today. And I'm really looking forward to hearing from you in the future, collaborating on some other projects that we are definitely gonna encounter together.
Yes.
And maybe a message also for the entire audience who will stick with us until the end of this conversation. Thanks again for tuning in. And don't forget to follow Ryan's work and his journey. And just a message before we wrap up: stay healthy and keep moving, guys. So till the next time, take care and bye bye.
Thank you.
Yeah. So Ryan, that will be practically it, my friend. So I can stop now
Cool.
recording.